Hello, welcome to day 2 of Gracious Diva. It is going to be a cool day. That's the plan. The plan is for it to be a cool day out this piece. So I decided to put my contacts in. So if you see me squinting, that may be why. Um, it's probably time for those, what they call them, like bifocal contacts next round. It happens. What are we gonna do, right? How is everybody doing today? I hope you're doing well. Today is taking the stage. So we're gonna talk about two sides of this. We're gonna talk about the business, like what does it mean to take your vision on the stage, to take it out and to make it accessible to people so they can connect to you and your services and your brilliance. Yes. And we're going to talk a bit about how we can build businesses of freedom and legacy instead of jobs of grunge and derelictness. I don't know. I try not to use negative terms. How are y'all doing? How are y'all doing? This is about embracing your inner diva, so that you can have that legacy and business of your dreams that creates the freedom in your life. I have an announcement to make. I'm super excited about my announcement. I don't know about other people. I don't know about other people, but it's exciting to me. I've been sharing the Get Vocal method for a while now. It's been a while, right? Um, and so it's been something that I have called my 4-step process to connect and to be able to track and start to learn from our creative cycle of bringing our breath to vocal sound, right? It's a way of really tapping in, getting into the nitty gritty of how you are connecting and how you are creating. Breath to sound is how I think of it. As breath is unsensible. It's not something that we can commiserate on because we can't sense it with our 3D body cells and brains, right? But when we are using our voices, that is sensible. So we're taking the breath and creating sound. So we're creating something sensible. That is an aspect of manifestation, right? And so what I like to say is that it is the fastest way to practice manifestation because you can do several sounds. I've been doing it right now. It's happening right now when I'm making words. And so it can happen. And if we can tune in with each sound we create and be in alignment and be and just get to know life and purpose through each sound that comes out of our mouths. Wow, that's a lot of practice of really being immersed in our spirituality, right? So that's what I like to think. Well, that method, that's the point of this conversation, right? That method, the Get Vocal method, has a new name. It has a new name. And it's in the process of being trademarked. So, send your blessings for that. It will be called Omance. So the Om is the OM of the creation of the earth sound. Om. And then ANCE, ANCE, short for the resonance, which the understanding or the subtitle of this Omance is vocal resonance method. And so it's about using the resonation of our voice to tap into our vibration and to be totally connected to our energetic frequency for change on the planet. That floats my boat, y'all. It does. It floats all the boats for me. So thank you for those who are congratulating me on my new trademark of Oman's the vocal resonance method. I'm speaking it as it is because it is in process, so I can't officially put the TM behind it. but it's what's happening. So those of us that are joining us in Vocal Creatrix for this live cohort will see it. Oh, months. And now being replaced. Well, right now it says get vocal, but when you're in the live cohort, we'll start replacing that with Omans. And not only is it shorter because it's only one word. I think it's so appropriate. I was so excited when I stumbled upon it. So it's a fun win for me. So what I want you to do is to also chime in, put your comments on each post. It's a simple way of earning points to win a voice activation for pricing confidence session with me. Now, if you want to go ahead and buy that session, it's $150, and the link is in the information for today's live video. And also for tomorrow, right? We want to be continuing to do the comments, and also to get 2 points, you get to share. So if you share on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, then you just have to tag me. If you share, it's a hashtag Gracious Diva. I put on a cute little video on Reels to Instagram today. So if you want to share that out, if you liked it, I don't know if you liked it. If you liked it, then share that out. And then you just put the hashtag Gracious Diva and then put my @ So my @ on Facebook is Monifa Harris Voice. My @ on Instagram is Drama Mezzo. And my @ on Twitter is Drama Mezzo. So you spell Drama Mezzo, DRAMAMEZZO. All of this can be found in our feature section as well. So if you're confused, that's what you want to do, okay? And I see you're in the Zoom room, but we're joining in for our panel at 4. So we still have a couple hours or hour and a half before we do the panel. So I will see you in there. And yes, so day 1, yesterday, we were talking about legacy of community. We spoke with Asha Frost and what it looks like to build a community over 20 years and having this amazing experience of being published and having an agent and the challenges of the past and the present. She told us about her Diva moment in her interview from yesterday. So if you haven't caught it, it's a really great way of just tapping into what it would be like. What would it be like if you had an agent? What would it be like if somebody was supporting you to the level they just said, what do you need from me? Like, what could I give you? Would you know what to respond with? That's a little bit more about what we'll be talking about today. So that was yesterday. That's Asha Frost. Today, we are doing our panel at 4, right? So 4 p.m. Pacific. So that's 7 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be inviting a few people to speak with me about the challenges of bringing your passion, your creativity, your vision to the world. It's like the hard part of like, ooh, are they gonna accept me? Are they gonna accept my vision? Will they understand? I feel like that was a big one for me, and it still kind of is. I know I still have to walk people through my work because it's not being talked about a lot, right? And so that feeling of being right at the edge of something and still having to help people to connect to it, that may be the first time you hear anything like it, right? And so that's okay. That's who my people are. We're innovators, right? We're out here on the front lines of what we can get done, right? So that's what we're talking about today. We're going to talk with a couple other innovators and just talk about the challenges, talk about how we do it anyways, right? How we still show up, what were our steps? Because this doesn't all look like this on the first round. We always think that we can do better. My perfectionists and creatives get that, right? We always could do better. So what may look great to you, I'm not sure, but I know some of my clients think I'm awesome, right? So if you are just now finding me and you think this looks like, oh, wow, this is really well put together, This is a process of years, right? So it doesn't come out the womb like this. And so we'll talk a little bit about what our process was to get to this point. So yes, and that panel at 4. So today in our talk, we're going to talk about our embracing our inner diva is going to get us to greater connection. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. A greater connection with our legacy and the ability to build a business of freedom. Okay. And then tomorrow we're going to have a presentation by Reyes and Nazir on emotions, right? So I kind of made up that name for her. I think she was saying that she she wants a more of a wholeness message, right? So I think I put balance in there, but her message is more about wholeness, right? But I like to think of it that way because she's going to tell us about our emotions and how to track them to create a better relationship with our emotions so that we can transmute them the way we need to, right? Today, our diva archetype is a producer, and it is being modeled by Destiny's Child. And reason why I picked Destiny's Child was because it is a group, right? And producing is about bringing everything together, right? And like producing an image for a group of things that are distinct in their own right, right? And so whenever I think of women leaders, and when we are in the same room together, because there's leaders in the room with me, and if you're still trying that on as a identity, then just recognize every place that you are trying, that you understand that you're still helping others understand, right? You're still helping your husband understand energy, then you're a leader. If you're still helping your fellow peoples, your women and other people in your community to understand the connection between nature and life and vibrancy, then you're a leader, right? All of these things are so powerful. And so I am here to help people to do that because I call y'all the bridges. About 2 years ago on my birthday, I did this hike, and as I was about to pass out because it's hot, so my birthday's in July. So I was out hiking in broad sunlight with no tree cover and 100-degree weather up a mountain. Because of course, why wouldn't I? Because I wanted to go see the water. I wanted to go see this river because that made sense to me at the time. More so, I just know I wanted to do it. And on the trip there, and the way back, this idea came that when I got to the river, there was a bridge. Okay. And this idea came that I want to build 1 million bridges, right? I want to help build 1 million bridges. And that to me is this idea of the person that is bridging culture divides, that's bridging the past and the present, that's bridging the spiritual and the actual, the manifested, right? That's bridging themselves and their communities, like connecting people, all those different types of ways to bridge or who my people are. They're also bridging understandings, again, wisdom and identity of categories. You know, sometimes we identify with academics, or we identify with spirituality, but we are always, most of us are all of these, in my community, we're always incorporating different segments of all of it, right? All of it are, you know, we all have our specialties, right? Our tools. When you have a wide tool set, we want to be clear on how we're applying that tool set. And so a lot of my people are still bringing all that to bear, right? Because we were told we had to be the top of the hill and the first and the one thing. And so what that does is that makes us feel not quite as adequate, because if you're literally only doing one thing, then of course it looks like you're making a ton more progress because your lane is so small, right? And when your ideas and your passions and your desire for life is spread out over so many different things, you have your family relationships, you have your client relationships, you have your outside nature, you have your nature circles, right? So every time we have these different aspects and they're all important to us, we are exchanging them with more frequency, and that's taking up more time. But it's also building this amazing breadth of wisdom, right? And to stop making the hierarchical sense of I'm the best at the one thing the right way. And it's not wrong, it's just not the only way, right? And it's just as powerful, just as valuable, and just as important, if not more, because of the imbalance of people who are focusing on that top of the hill aspect. To focus in on, because that when we give that our focus, when we give that our energy, then that is going to what create the balance we need in the manifested world, which is right now all we got, at least, in the powers that be, right? That's not all we've got. We've got some great soldiers out there. Sometimes we have to sit back and remember that we would be a lot worse off if we didn't have the people who had a clear understanding out there on the front lines. There's a lot happening that's right. We just have to join the party, so to speak, so we can increase that like call amplify those messages of being one, of being in community, of balance and nurture, of being our full and complete selves. Yeah. So that's why we're here today. We're here to build a legacy and servants and excellence. We're here to amplify the beauty of your unique genius, which is your voice. And we're here to start showing up for our business vision in a big and new way. Maybe we've already been working on our biz or thinking about our biz, but maybe we have taken back the reins in a brand new way. Maybe we have new ideas about how we're moving forward. And today's a new day, right? So let's start anew in our greater understanding of what we want in our business. We're never stuck, right? But sometimes it does mean composting a few things and just kind of turning it over to nurture what's next. And sometimes it looks like starting over. That's okay. That's okay, because that's how you can really build a foundation that you can sustain for a long time. So that's why I call it legacy building instead of business building, right? Because if you're just building a business, then yeah, you can make some money and do the thing real quick, but is it sustainable for you and your passion and your purpose? Is my question. And is your vision bigger than your business? If you could fit 3 different businesses under your vision for the world, then that may be the problem in and of itself. We're going to talk a lot about this today of how does it look like to build a business of freedom, because a lot of times what we're trying to do is the whole of the work in one business. And a lot of us are actually more suited to have like kind of several businesses of people doing the work while we're overseeing the vision. And that's a different approach. And so a lot of my people are still understanding that about their work, and then they are starting to reorient how they function in their business with that understanding. So yeah, so we're maximizing those strengths of our ability to oversee those things, taking them as value. So knowing that we still deserve all the things, even though you may not be sweating in the trenches doggedly, and I hope nobody is. And I hope we are giving people the space to be human within themselves, even when we have a team, right? And that we're also sharing our leadership voice and our vision for impact. So yeah, I think I am squinting. So if you notice me squinting, that's because I got my contacts on. I'm trying to read at the same time. Oh my gosh. So the challenges that show up, and we're going to probably be talking about this in the afternoon, and what we're approached from our feeling like we can't get anything right. That feeling of starting over can feel like, oh, if I could just get it right the first time, then I wouldn't have to start over. Not necessarily true. Sometimes you have to have the experience of it not working the way we want to realize we want it to work a completely different way and commit to it being that way, regardless of how it looks till it gets there, right? Like looking not perfect in the beginning is actually a great way to build exactly what you want. And anybody who's followed my journey can see that in my experience as well. If you feel like you're not safe to be wholly yourself, like, we have different pockets where you feel safe doing different things. If you have to separate all of your ways of being wisdom and your input, understanding, and what you want to share with the world, and you have to like create separate groups in order for that to show up, then we want at least one place where we can bring all of that together. And I consider that the vision itself. And I do think it's, if you have a really big vision, it does make sense to separate those things. So in other words, you have your whole vision. If somebody wants to understand you and your vision and the whole of your work, they find you. And I'm talking about branding here, folks. It's the kind of underlying bonus here. If they are looking for, the business that serves in a specific way, if they are looking for a cacao ceremony, maybe they're looking for one business. If they're looking for training and your methods, right, that may be a separate business. If they're looking for widgets, that may be a separate business. Now, nowadays, because of social media, we're often kind of throwing all those things under one umbrella and one brand, right? And in doing that, it all gets kind of dispersed. But I think it depends on the person, but either you want to get real structured and organized and separate all those out and get teams for all of them, right? Or you just want to show up as your full self. And then when you have an idea, share it, right? You have a new idea of the widget, you share it. When you have a new idea of a service, you share it. When you have a new teaching to share, you share it, right? So what ends up happening is we pay a lot of money for traditional business models and we aren't traditional, right? That's not cool. And or we build a business that can encompass all the things, but we are doing all the work because there's one of us and we don't have money to pay for more of a team, right? So that gets us bogged down a bit as well. So when we are doing that, we're just creating more of a job for ourselves. And how do we separate ourselves from that job? How does that look? Well, you start doing things in a way that is most energized for you. And I know we all think, okay, bills can only look one way, right? Doing the spreadsheet only looks one way. Okay, yeah, if you're just looking at it from the outside in, but if you're the inside, if you're the one acting the thing, making the thing happen, in other words, then your perspective is everything. And if you know the perspective of your voice, your energy, your vibration, you can do things with alignment, with efficiency, with impact. And it's really cool. If I had known that it could feel this good to do stuff that I wouldn't have said is my funnest stuff to do, I would have paid somebody to tell me that. Why do I think my work is valuable? Because I know I would pay for it, right? And so that's one of my aspects. Whenever I think like, I guess this costs too much, would I pay this? Yes, I would. Yeah, if I didn't already know this information, I pay for it. And that's how I know I'm in integrity when I'm sharing, right? How now, what are we talking about today? Oh yes, the build your legacy. So again, we're talking about taking the stage at 4. I'm going to give you a few diva characteristics that you need to build your legacy in business. Okay, so diva characteristic. What? Actually, 2. So we talked about one yesterday, or 2 yesterday. But the important one that I want you to remember as we bring in this idea of building business of freedom is your powerful voice. Okay, that the uniqueness, knowing its uniqueness, valuing it, and that is so important so that when you speak, when you share, when you're expressing, whether that be in a social media post or in speaking and singing, right? Whether whatever you're doing, anytime you're holding space with your energy, and that's anytime you're sending out something into the world. Every word, every breath, yes, but every social media post as well. Which is not to make it like really complicated, right? It's just so that we are understanding that it's important to be in alignment with our own energy, right? So that's the first one that I want you to remember. That's important. I'm going to say one more thing about that. I was looking up articles and stats and stuff for LinkedIn to share, as far as, why it's important for your business and why it's important to prioritize visibility in your business. Because for a small business and as a solopreneurship, is the predominant thing that most of my people are in. When you are in that kind of business, 88, I've seen 88% of the budget is spent on marketing. What does that look like when you have no money? So let's say you're not like outright spending a ton of money on your business. What does that start to become? Your time. Like how much time are you spending on your marketing? Because your money is your time until you have money. I said that backwards. Your time is your money until you have it, right? So most of us are spending that 80%, right? So if we're going to spend it, like, let's make it impactful. Let's make it valuable, right? And so the second diva characteristic that I want you to embrace in your inner diva walk is uncompromising vision, right? A diva knows what they want their work to look like. Every time I think of like, what people consider, I don't know. I haven't, tracked a lot of negative media in about 10, 15 years. But when I think of some of the things that people call diva action or reaction, like when somebody's telling somebody what they need in a performance or on a stage, I'm always like, that's not being like the negative diva that people like to call it. That's being uncompromising in your vision. That's being committed to your work. That's being committed to delivering what you said you are offering. Like that level of responsibility. It's not necessarily something to say that I have to do something a certain way, but it's about you respecting your own work, right? And then helping other people recognize the level in which that work is worth respecting, right? Because when I see Beyonce say, no, that ain't it. That's not the dance move. That's not where we're going with this, right? Like it develops this amazing result. Like the audience feels amazing because of what they put into it, right? It's that work, it's that dedication to detail. And it's making sure that all the people on the team are showing up at their level to create that reality. And this is what we're talking about, the production, right? We're talking about the producer, I'm sorry, as the archetype, because that's what this is. It's starting to recognize what your tools are to support your vision, your energy, Your energy, your capacity for self-motivation, that is a tool for showing up for your vision. Do you know how to garner your own energy? Do you know how to call that in and when you need it? Do you know how to support it so that it's there when you do need it? Do you know how to take a break? In other words, do you know how to rest? Do you know how to restore? Do you know how to let go? Sometimes we have to be uncompromising on the long-term vision, the legacy, but compromise until we are clear on what that is, right? So a lot of times we have to be messy to figure out what clarity looks like. You got to make some mistakes. You gotta be like, oops, that happened. You know, like it happens sometimes. We're human. We might be doing, most of us are doing 1,000 new things every time we start a business. So it's okay to make mistakes. That is okay. Mistakes happen. We're human. We apologize. We move on, right? And that's okay. So what the other part of that is to trust in the process. So that is a little bit of what I was just talking about. It's about trusting the process. That in the beginning, it's more of trying things on, experimenting. Do I like it this way? Do I have more energy when I do it this way? If I start with this perspective, what does it feel like? What does it produce? What were the results? Did people connect to it? Like checking in and or not checking in, but doing things with the aspect of just, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. You need that kind of diva energy. You need to be able to play until you have the clarity. And when the clarity comes, then you help people to see the vision, right? Now, what we don't have to do is be mean about it. I know that's part of it. What most of my people are afraid of is being mean about it. And you don't have to be. There's no need to be mean. Absolutely no need. So it's really just helping people say, okay, yeah, that's not it. That's not the step, right? So the step looks like this. Let's do it again, right? So it's not about getting mean about it. The gracious parts comes with understanding how you feel and how you want others to feel around you, right? So the way I love this defined really drove things home for me. I have gene key 22 in two major aspects of my chart, my hologenetic profile. I'm sorry, for Gene Keys by Richard Rudd. It's a tool that we use in our Vocal Creatrix course. And it's something that always kind of brings home my reality of me to me, right? It's and one of my keys is 22, and in the shadow it's dishonor, and the gift is graciousness. And guys, I did not know, I didn't know this, but when I created this summit or event the first time, I did not know this information. So just so you know, in case you're wondering. So the 22, yes, of the gift is graciousness, and the city, which is the highest aspect that serves the whole, is grace. And so what the definition of that in the Gene Keys is, essentially, it comes down to honoring your own emotions, your own pain, and your own experience of trauma or challenge, and honoring others at the same time. So not making somebody else's pain more important than yours, and vice versa, not making somebody else's happiness more important than yours, right? But to hold them both and to bless them both, right? And so as you can see, like for me, this is a lesson that I had to learn for myself. And the kind of shadow comes from feeling everybody's pain and then trying to make the world, by doing it within my own being, like help everybody feel better, right? But that wasn't honoring my own emotions and my own self and my words and my vision and my all the things, right? And so that was a big lesson. I shouldn't say hard. Well, it was hard, but it was a big lesson. One of the components of that key is like literally the core wounding of everybody. So that's how I feel it in my body. So that's how I kind of share it. It's like that pain is what I was bringing up every time I was meeting somebody, and they were like sharing their pain with me, and then like I would just take on all of it, right? And it just became impossible to maintain. Who can sustain that? Who can sustain that, right? Anyway, so when we are starting to build a business, we have to, yes, understand our customer, understand their journey, understand that they are hearing from a lot of different people about a lot of different things. And at the same time, honoring our own journey and our journey of the people that will be walking with us by showing up and stating our business, right? So what we want to do is to get to the place where we're not building a business that we don't want to show up to every day. And a lot of times we're taking on responsibility in our business. That is not our responsibility. What does that look like, Monifa? This is when I need a live audience. What does that look like? Is it looks like when we are having our what we say we're going to deliver, right? When we say we're going to offer, when we're offering, we over deliver. A lot of us as empaths, as introverts, we tend to over deliver. We overdo it, right? We just do it too much. And I think I'm still working on this one, but but still, if you're doing it out of a sense of obligation or responsibility, because you feel like, well, somebody paid for it, and so I have to be responsible with this. You feel how like heavy that is? I have to be responsible. Like, how do you build a sustainable business if you have to? Like, you can't keep going like that forever, right? And that's what I think about sustainability. It's like, I could do this forever. I could literally do this forever. If I feel like I could do this forever, then I know I'm in good water, because I'll come back to it. Even if I take a break, I'll come back to it, right? Um, so what's the replacement? What's the replacement of saying I have to be responsible? Yeah. My replacement is I have a purpose, right? I I want to be of service. I want to be of guidance. I want to be helpful. Yes. And then knowing when to release it is that responsibility part, because I can offer anything I want, but I can't make you take it, right? So this goes down the line. I can offer you any service I want. That doesn't mean you have to buy it, right? Once you're in my course, I can offer you all the wisdom in the world. That doesn't mean you have to apply it, right? And so the responsibility, that's where the co-creation comes in, right? So I can walk you through the glades, but you have to walk yourself through the fence, right? And that is when we understand that it's a cooperative effort every time we move and improve our lives and be of service, right? Then we can start to recognize the divinity of the people that we're walking through. Just because somebody doesn't know the exact same tenet of principles you're using in your vision and your course does not mean that they are not equally valuable in their field of excellence, right? And so to treat the people that we are helping as if they're incapable, and well, if they knew it, they, like, I feel like think that if somebody doesn't know something that, you know, I don't know, I just feel like people feel like they have to baby each other, right? We're all have seeds of divinity within us. We all have the capacity for everything, really. So it's really just our jobs to, like, when somebody's ready to walk that path, to be there to walk them if they want to walk with us. And that's how I say it. I don't, yes, it's still a level of responsibility, because you have a responsibility to the work, right? You have a responsibility to the service that you were here to do on the planet. But heck, yeah, like that's plenty of responsibility right there. We don't need to take on the responsibilities of our clients. Okay. It's plenty of responsibility right there. And it's more than most even are know to do. So always know that if you're meeting the purpose that you're here to serve, then you're being more like as responsible as you could possibly be, because most people aren't. Most people aren't. Scary, scary truth. All right, I need to move it along. Do you have a characteristic of expecting support for you and your team? So I shared another post, I guess. I've been sharing a lot of posts lately. Wow, that's new for me. So share another post about like what would I because there are mocktails and it's this cool table, and I love following mocktail people that do these spreads for parties and such. And they're always so pretty, and they like have misters. It's just like, to me, it's the best of both worlds, because it's kind of, that's an implication of a little bit of comfort, of heat, right? And then the mist and the cool drinks and it's tropical. I love tropical. So anyways, I shared that, and I was like, this is going to be on my writer for my team. So that's kind of the point I want you to think about here. Writers are what artists ask for when they are performing at an event. In order to walk on the stage, they must have their writers met. And a writer is a contract, right? It's attached to a contract that says what they need backstage when they get there, right? And so people have been made fun of this. People have been called divas for this, right? Because some people are asking for crazy stuff. The one I remember, and don't tax my memory, but you can Google it and see if you find anything. But Mariah Carey, I remember, was made fun of or whatever for having a writer that all of the things in her dressing room had to be white. The dress, everything, the chairs, everything, all the things had to be white. And she would make a demand for like I think a thing of gum and and M&Ms. And they also had to be white. They had to be in white packaging, right? Why do I love this? Okay, like why do I love this as an example? Because yeah, it's extreme. It sounds extreme. That sounds super, uber, duper extreme. And or it's super duper, uber clear, right? If you make everything in my dressing room right, and that white is my feeling of highest vibration. It's my aligned feeling of highest vibration. When I get in that room, I sense my own purpose, right? When I get in that room, I am woken into the self that gets to serve at the level in which somebody knows the name Mariah Carey. That's huge, folks. Like, is it? I mean, so to me, like, yeah, we can make fun of it, or we just don't get what it takes to be Mariah Carey, right? I always think it's funny because like the M&Ms, there's only like one time a year that they have a white package of M&Ms. So you either have to plan a year ahead or find somebody who has it, right? So I find that very interesting. Another person, I forget who this is. I've forgotten who it is, but one other person, another singer, required that when they get to the venue, that they had somebody there to physically hand them a bag of $8,000. Right? They already paid her contract. They already have their artist agreements and all the things. But when she got to the facility, their job was to hand her that money. Wow, and we can call that a diva move, or we can say like, what would make her need that, or know that that's what she needed before she went on stage. probably an experience of not getting paid for a performance, right? And feeling like, well, at minimum, this is me. Like, this is me bagging $8,000 before my performance, right? Like, what, and then what would that create for them? Maybe a very significant, special, specific vibration, where for somebody else it'd be like, now I'm worried about where the $8,000 is when I'm on stage, right? So like everybody's a little different. Everybody's a little different, and your story creates that legacy. Whew, one of the most beautiful things I've heard is, what is the, yeah, I think they call it, said, what is your legend? Yeah, what is your legend? Right? So the hero's journey and all the things that make what is important to you important to you. Like, what is your legend? And to me, those are the things that make up your legacy. So yeah, it looks like challenge, it looks like hardships, it looks like triggers, it looks like anxiety, it looks like all the things beforehand. Afterward, right? What does that look like? So like not criticizing, judging other people on what works, what's true for them, I think is so important. When we judge others, we are turning that eye inward as well. Anything you judge somebody else for, I promise you, it's coming back to you. And the insecurities come from there, and then imposter syndrome comes from there. So if you want to know like how to get rid of a lot of that imposter syndrome, it starts there. Not judging, or when you do judge, like, we're all human, it happens. When you judge, you're like, oh, well, where'd that thought come from? Like, am I jealous? Am I, like, who told me it was wrong? Where am I getting this idea? These things are important, right? Because because if you really sit down as to why you think somebody else is wrong, you'll learn so much about yourself. You'll learn so much about yourself. And that information is your voice. Like that, and being clear on that is your voice. So when people ask you those really complex questions and you give them the one answer they've never heard, you have a legend behind that, right? So the difference between a lot of people who are showing up in their full vision and a lot of us is that they expect the support. And I don't mean they expect it as, well, we did talk with Asha a little bit about this. What she call it? Oh, God. Oh, I forgot. What did she say? It was, hopefully they'll come to me later. But basically expecting something that like you deserve it, right? And that, I think, it could be it could be a little hairy, like, oh, of course, entitlement, that's what it is. If you feel entitled, like, but there's a healthy level of entitlement, especially for those of us who haven't had a lot of that feeling of, I have a level of expectation of what I expect my life to look like, right? And so that healthy entitlement, right? Like, if you would judge that, why? Not an entitlement that jockeys others out of position, but an entitlement that makes sure that you and the people in your space and community are supported. And not restricted, overly restricted, right? So this is what I'm talking about, of not giving up on your vision, not making it smaller to suit others, right? But expecting to support at the level that you believe it is moving into, right? letting things be messy enough, but also when you are clear, being clear with others, how the vision looks and what it takes to be valued and supported. And that's not just for you, that's for your team, because your team is taking care of your people, right? So your team needs to be supported at a certain level for the people that you show up for and that are served by your business and entity to also feel supported and get the full value of the experience. So it's important. It's important. Other things that are on those riders are food, which is why I put that post up. Food, equipment, water, always. It's always like bottled water on there somewhere. It's always on there so that, again, like what do people need to be able to rehearse, to get everybody in position, to get all the things together so that the performance goes as flawlessly as y'all expected or planned, envisioned. Yeah. So that's what this is. Today is about embracing that inner diva so that your vision can have its full blooming, full blooming. And it doesn't just bloom all at once. So we're not talking about perfection from the beginning. We're talking about, I talk of my principle is presence over perfection, right? I'd rather you be present. I'd rather be imperfect and you be present and connected to the energy that's in and moving through you than it be perfect. And I don't, perfect can be really boring if it doesn't come with presence, if it doesn't come with truth, with your heart, with your reality. Yeah. So that's for today at 4. So in about 50 minutes, we will be coming on with taking the stage. We're going to have that convo on the challenges of showing up for your passion and your vision and like the steps. What steps are we taking to do so? So I will see you at 4. Ta-ta for now.